Hello, nerds! Welcome once again to Generally Nerdy. I am Generally Nerdy. My name is Dustin. This is my channel. We like to talk about nerdy stuff. This is your week in Nerdom. It is back for real this time. There were some issues with my professional life that were getting in the way. Those issues have been taken care of, and we're here doing this a little more regularly. And by a little more regularly, I mean proper. So, that being said, I have started a new Patreon account. If you guys would be so kind, please jump over there. The link is in the description below. And donate $1. You can get away with $1 a month and get early access to content. You can get special patron-only content. All kinds of wonderful stuff. It all helps me out, and it's all really good on your end, too. So if you would be so wonderful and beautiful and kind, jump on over there and shoot me $1 a month. Before we get too deep into other things, let's cue the music.
Generally Nerdy.
Now that we've got the music out of the way, gotta love that tune. A couple more things of business to get out of the way. First of all, your week in Nerdom is going to undergo a couple of changes. Some minor, some a little more than minor. Gonna start doing guest hosts, gonna start doing a change of venue every so often, just to keep things fresh and just so I can have fun experimenting, quite honestly, with filmmaking and filming rather. As far as content goes for the week in Nerddom, we're still going to do, comic books, video games, movies, television, all of the things. But we're also going to start doing a little bit more social commentary. The status of Eclectica Cafe is a little bit in limbo these days, so that's we need to have another outlet. I need to have another outlet to make the social commentary. Obscene is definitely not the place for me to make the social commentary that should be made. That's more to piss people off, very specifically. You also, if you're doing things where you comment on culture, to not do commentary on that culture is kind of doesn't make sense, right? So we're doing these videos and we're making these comments about how things work and all the different stuff, and it's just it's natural. I've had to stop myself from making commentary in the past, and now I'm just gonna not stop myself from making the commentary. I might rein it in a little bit because we are here to talk about nerdy things and we are here to have a conversation. For me to force my opinion on my viewers is not having a conversation. It's going on a diatribe, and we want to try to avoid that. So we're going to facilitate the conversation. Along the lines of content changes and Patreon, since we brought up Patreon before, there is going to be an option on the Patreon for you, my wonderful viewers, to participate more actively in this show. To participate more actively in this channel, even. Going to talk directly to you guys. Have you submit questions that we can then discuss, or have you be the guest host, so on and so forth. So again, please jump over to Patreon, link in the description below. And we are off to the news. First things first, we are going with comic books. Comic books. We touch on comic books a bit here. Now, I've tried to play it safe before because there's so much of a landscape with the comic book arena. So many different things that people are reading, so many different great things out there. I could do just a show a week about comic books. And maybe if I start making money through the Patreon, I will. But as it stands right now, Week in Nerdom is about more than just comic books. So I'm just going to start touching on the things I'm reading. And the things I'm super excited to read that are coming in the future. Like Deadpool. In October, we are getting a Deadpool versus Old Man Logan. Now, Deadpool versus / Deadpool kills has been something of a trend recently. Most of his books, most of the Deadpool books in the recent past have been one of those two things. Deadpool versus Deadpool. Deadpool versus the Marvel Universe. Deadpool versus whatever. Deadpool kills, rather. Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe. Deadpool Killustrated. Deadpool kills Deadpool. These things have been going for a while. Brian Posehn was one of the writers. Anyway, we're birdwalking. This new Deadpool versus Old Man Logan sounds like it's going to be really great because, according to the writers Declan Shalvey, I hope I'm saying his last name right, Declan Shalvey, and Mike Henderson, this is going to be a Deadpool versus... This is going to be a book where we get to see Deadpool and Old Man Logan do what they do best. Presumably that means we're getting a lot of breaking the fourth wall, a lot of Old Man Logan just being a crotchety old bastard. A lot of hilarity is going to ensue because these two are going to be something of an odd couple, was, I believe, the quote from the interview that they did, or that Shalvey did specifically. The main villain is going to be... I have to read this directly from my notes, so my apologies. The main villain is going to be one that Logan is trailing, that is an Omega level mutant. Who that will be, Lord only knows. A new villain is what they were saying, though I read Omega level and went, Omega Red? But no. Sadly, one of my favorite Wolverine villains, and apparently Deadpool villains, because there was a Deadpool versus Omega Red book that's great, if not super short. But yeah, one of my favorite villains is sadly not going to be the one that they chose to do this with. So, whatever. But going to be great. Comes out in October. It's an 8-issue miniseries, and you can't go wrong with Deadpool and Logan, man. And Captain America news. Captain America is no longer with Hydra. I have been keeping a super close eye on this because when it happened, I kind of lost interest. So that being said, Cap is going to try and redeem himself, starting with issue number 695 that comes out pretty soon. And he's going to be trekking across America and righting the wrongs that happened while he was Hail Hydra. And I might start reading Cap again. I'm not going to lie. As you should as well. If you're not reading Batman right now, then you're totally missing out. There's a bunch of other things that we could touch on, but we've got a lot of stuff to cover, so we are moving on. And we are into TV news. Good Lord, there's so much stuff going on with the televisions now. So here's a little bit of a commentary. Has television become the new comic books? We know that television is better than the movies these days because you get that long form storytelling. You have a lot of directors, you have a lot of people with movies in mind doing television. So, is it now also the new comic books? Comic books, the writing has been so bad for the recent past, the last 6 months to 2 years, roughly, starting with all of the unnecessary changes that they started to make. It's not necessarily that the change itself is bad, it's that the writing behind the change is bad. There's a whole piece about it on the blog. I'll include a link in the description below. Boils down to we've had bad writing recently, and we have really good writing on the TV side of things. Flash kind of got a little muddy for a while, but is still pretty solid all the way through. Green Arrow, same thing. We are getting a Titans TV show. We are getting so much new stuff. Defenders just came out on Netflix, and solid stuff. But our comic books are starting to fall to the wayside as far as writing, because they're pulling all of these writers into the movie arena, and they're pulling all of these writers into the TV arena, and there's not a whole lot going on as far as comic books to keep us interested. There is a lot of potential. I'm not trying to shit on comic books too much. There's a lot of potential that comics will continue to be good, will start to increase in quality, I guess is more appropriate. But right now, we're not seeing a whole lot of quality, and I think that's because everybody's focusing on television. What do you think? I would love to hear your comments about it. Anyway, moving into the actual news on television. So, big elephant in the room, talking about TV, talking about comic books. Robert Kirkman has left AMC. Struck a deal with Amazon. He's gonna he has a 2-year contract exclusively with Amazon. He has so many of his properties that he's already created are going to go exclusively to Amazon. Anything new that he creates in the next 2 years has to be optioned to Amazon first. But that being said, his existing properties, so Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead, and Outcast on Cinemax, are not going to be affected by this deal. They are going to stay where they are. So he's just leaving the team. Now, they say that they're not going to be affected by the deal, but Kirkman's not going to be there anymore. The showrunner is not going to be active. That's going to affect the show, is it not? We are going to lose the driving force behind The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead, and kind of sort of Outcast if you really liked Outcast. I could kind of take it or leave it. But The Walking Dead is the best show on television. As blasphemous as it might be, better than Game of Thrones. So if we're losing our showrunner, what does that mean? Are we going to see a dip in quality, or is it going to jump in quality? I leave that one to you as well. Let's discuss. Kirkman does some fantastic stuff. The pacing of the comic book for The Walking Dead is a little kind of jumpy and sometimes feels super rushed and sometimes feels like it's dragging. Whereas the pacing for The Walking Dead show, I feel like, is so perfect most of the time. There's so much that, like, if it's going slow, you understand why. If it's rushing through things, you still catch all of the information you need. How much of that is Kirkman? I don't know. We're going to find out, though. So let's discuss. A couple of smaller television bits. Karl Urban has confirmed Judge Dredd, Mega City 1, he's in talks to be Judge Dredd. They haven't really shopped it out to anybody yet. We know it exists. We know that they want to do, I believe it was 10 episodes. So are they going to film it in its entirety like the Boondock Saints show and then shop it? Or are they going to film just a pilot, shop that around? Don't know. All we know right now is Karl Urban is potentially going to be the judge one more time, at least for 10 episodes. So that could be fantastic as well. Next small bit of television news, we have the Jetsons. Could have covered this in comic books as well because they are rebooting the comic book. I believe it was DC. I want to say it was DC that's rebooting the comic. From the initial pages I've seen of it, it's not the Jetsons you know. Definitely a reimagining of the way the Jetsons are. It's a little more realistic as something set in the future can be, I guess. But looks like it's going to be really good. But the television show, don't know a whole lot about that so far. Live action could be really interesting. Robert Zemeckis is the main producer behind this, so that could make for a very interesting show. As if I remembering what I read and what I've seen throughout my life, Zemeckis generally does movies. So again, we're getting into how television is absorbing all of the good things about the other bits of media we consume. The lead writer, because usually it's a team of writers when we're talking about a television show, but the lead writer is Gary Janetti, who wrote for Family Guy and Will and Grace. I don't know. I mean, it's going to be a sitcom. There's no way they can get around it being a sitcom. They're not going to change the storytelling format so drastically that it becomes like, I don't know, a drama or something like that. It's just going to be a sci-fi sitcom. I feel like we're seeing a big trend towards sci-fi sitcoms. We've got the Seth MacFarlane one that's kind of a parody of Star Trek. I can't remember the name right now, but I'll say something about it in the description. We've got that one, and now we've got this reboot of the Jetsons. So I don't know. It feels like sci-fi is getting some much deserved love. The last bit of television news is the other giant elephant in the room, Doctor Who. 13th Doctor is going to be a female, played by Jodie Whittaker. I'm not a big Who fan. I know it's supposed to be one of the better nerdy shows on TV, and my girlfriend always wants me to watch it, but just there's so much stuff going on. I don't really get around to it as much as I would like. But I do know enough to know that it's kind of due for the Doctor to be something other than a white guy. Because the Doctor, I guess you can't really assign a gender to something that comes back as somebody new every time. Because the Doctor comes back as somebody new, there's no reason, and Master came back as a female a while ago and has remained female, if I remember correctly. Again, I don't watch the show, so correct me if I'm wrong, but the Master has come back as female, so why can't the Doctor? And also, why are all the Doctors always companions, rather? Why are the companions always female? It's just a companion. There's no sexual relationship, so it's not like they're going to be really risque if a male Doctor has a male companion. So I don't know. You tell me. You guys watch it a little bit more than I do, so hit up those comments and let's discuss. The quote I read in the article that was getting the details for this said that the fans have been waiting for a female Doctor for so long, and everything that I saw when it got announced outside of the traditional arenas, all the fans that I know, generally they're guys, kind of got up in arms about the fact that the new Doctor was going to be female. So I'm going to give it a 50-50. I feel like there's about 50% of the Doctor Who fan population that said, I mean, this makes sense. And there's about 50% of the Doctor Who fan population that went, no! Which side do you fall on and why? Let's discuss. Next on the list, we've got book news. Literature. Only one thing to talk about when we're talking about books right now, and that is The Name of the Wind. I am going to start reading other books, I promise. Other nerdy books, anyway. I read plenty of comic books and things that we wouldn't really talk about on this show. But Rothfuss, Name of the Wind, King Killer Chronicles. When is Book 3 happening? Well, Rothfuss made an announcement not that long ago about a Kickstarter. What is this Kickstarter for, you ask? Is it have anything to do with Doors of Stone? No, it doesn't. He's trying to sell us some playing cards. I mean, the playing cards are beautiful, but damn it, Pat. Just give us Book 3, dude. Oh, speaking of Book 3... is this going to be the final book? I feel like he said no. I feel like he said this is going to bring us to current day, but there's going to be a lot of things that still need to happen. So, did he say that, or am I remembering this wrong? Let's talk about it in the comments section. And moving on. Music news. The Darkness. You remember them. I believe anything of love. Yeah, those guys. Putting out a new album. I really thought they broke up, and for good reason. Is this a thing we need? I mean, doesn't Steel Panther do the whole mock rock thing to everyone's satisfaction? It's the Darkness. I mean, yeah, whatever. It's happening. I just thought it was newsworthy because I thought they broke up. Like, there was a whole thing where the rest of the band wanted to do really serious music, and the lead singer guy was like, no, we make jokes, and we do music videos where giant octopus attacks our spaceship, and because it reasons. And yeah, no, that's not where we're at right now. So, anyway, it's a thing. They got back together, they were making music, or he got a new band to understand the joke with him. I don't know. Either way, it's a thing that's happening, and it hurts me a little bit inside. And an actual thing that's going to, that should be a Kickstarter point for a discussion is Corey Taylor told Stuff Magazine, yes, Stuff Magazine is still a thing in New Zealand. Anyway, Corey Taylor told Stuff Magazine that he would rather put out whole albums than do it a song at a time and a song at a time. Is that the way of the future for the music industry, though? Has the album gone the way of the dodo? Like, everyone puts out a song or two. Like, even my band, man, like Telepathic Sandwich, we do basically a song to... we did a 3-song thing once, and we also put out an album, but we kind of slowly released those songs a la Protest the Hero. We slowly released a few of those songs before we actually released the album. So I don't know, it just seems like because of the digital age, because of that I want it now kind of mentality, we're looking at a song at a time from our favorite artists. Is that satisfactory? Does that scratch the itch that you want from your musical artists? I don't know. I feel like the album is a better experience. You get a new album from a new artist and you toss it on your iPod or your phone these days, because I'm old and I still think of in terms of MP3 players, but put it on your phone and then like you experience from start to finish these 12 songs, these 15 songs, whatever the artist has put together to call it an album. And like that's the story they want to tell. That's the journey they want to take you on. A song tops for most bands. I mean, I do listen to Mastodon, so I'm not unfamiliar with like 9-10 minute songs, but generally speaking, especially in more popular music, a song is tops 4 minutes long, and that's not a journey. It's an experience. That's a 4-minute experience, and especially like if it's a hip hop song, there's a story there, absolutely. But is that really the entire journey that they want to take you on? Let me know. Let's talk about that one in the comments as well. In the most ridiculous music news you're going to hear for a while, aside from the fact that the Darkness is back together, but that's ridiculous in a different way. This is ridiculous in a Gene Simmons kind of way. Or as we like to say here at Generally Nerdy about Gene Simmons, the Trump to the music industry. He is what he is to music what Donald Trump is to politics. Let's say that. Gene Simmons tried to trademark the devil horns. Now I'm gonna let you have a moment with that. Gene Simmons from Kiss, the man with the longest tongue in the world, who, dear God, is the only thing he is good at in life is marketing, which was why this kind of makes sense that he would try and do this. That guy tried to trademark this. It boggles the mind. So, when it was released that he applied for a trademark or he put in a trademark application for the devil horns, he got it wrong because he's always had it wrong. The thing that he thinks that he came up with is this. And this, in sign language, means I love you. This is the devil horns. Notice the difference. Let's look at this for a second. This versus this. This and this. Yeah. Big difference. This one is a sign of love. This one is, to some, a sign of the devil, who, by definition, is kind of the opposite of that. Anyway, we're blowing past the point. Gene Simmons tried to copyright this because he said he came up with it in 1974. Crazy amounts of fan backlash because more people than I would like to admit listen to Kiss, but also some of those people listen to good music too. So you can't necessarily fault them for their lack of judgment. Anyway, lots of fan backlash, and then Sharon Osbourne going on the talk and calling him out for being a moron because the origin of this, is highly debatable, but the most likely / most accepted origin of the devil horns comes from Dio, many years before Kiss was a thing, and even then, Ronnie James Dio said he got it from his grandma because this is an old Italian symbol to ward off the devil. So he did it because it looked cool on stage, and then Gene Simmons went, hey, if I put my thumb out, it's slightly different, and I can say I came up with it. It's just been a thing for so long. And thankfully, too, our legal system, there were a couple of lawyers who commented on this, realized that it would not have gone over very well in an actual court of law. So he has since withdrawn his application and said that he doesn't regret a thing, even though now even less people give a shit about him. Anyway, that was the thing that happened. And thank God there are people out there. This is one of the few times where I'm grateful that everyone on the internet has a voice, because everyone on the internet saw that and went, fuck you, Gene Simmons. And that's how that went.
Generally nerdy.
All right, so we are into movie news. Before we get into the news, there is a very serious thing that we have to comment on, and that is the tragic death of the stunt woman on the Deadpool 2 set. So if we can just take a moment of silence, because nobody deserves to die doing their job. Our many condolences to her family. Our many condolences to all of her friends. It was a very... when I saw it on the news, I thought it was a joke. Because it's Deadpool, and you expect crazy antics when you're talking about Deadpool. But this was a real thing, and a woman really lost her life. Things happen, and just again, many, many condolences. But we are moving on, keeping that in our minds, because we don't want to brush off when something horrible like this happens. We don't want to move past it too quickly, because again, a life was lost. So keep that in your minds. There are a lot of people that go into making these movies and that deserve our support, and right now I'm sure her family needs a lot of support. So anyway, moving on. So the Lego Movie guys, Phil Lord and Chris Miller, were directing. We're not set to direct. We're in the middle of directing the Han Solo movie when they parted ways with Lucasfilm because of artistic differences. It sounded like there was an amicable split. They wanted to go one way. Lucasfilm wanted them to go another way. They both said, you know what, this isn't going to work, so we're going to find Ron Howard to do this. Ron freaking Howard. Oh my God. That's awesome. How freaking great is that? Ron Howard has directed some fantastic films, and now we get him in a Star Wars movie. It was cool enough that Abrams was wanting to jump on, but we get like Hall of Fame caliber director in Ron Howard. Anyway, that's awesome. As for the strange timing that we talked about the last time we were talking Star Wars movies, they announced that they were going to change the release schedule, in that the release of Episode 8, The Last Jedi, is going to be in December. This movie currently is scheduled to release in May, so that's 5 months. There's 5 months difference from one movie to the next. It's a little crazy. That's kind of like, I love Star Wars, but that's a little Star Wars overload, don't you think? Though there are rumors that there are going to be some setbacks, and we might not get the Han Solo movie until next December, which makes a lot more sense. Give us a full year to kind of recover. Yes, I know you probably have a lot of fans that are just ravenous and want a Star Wars movie every day if they could have it. Because they want you to rebuild this universe that got kind of sort of half-assed retconned. It doesn't make sense. It's a little bit overkill. It's the fly on the shotgun kind of all over again. So if that happens, nothing is set, nothing has been absolutely announced or anything like that, but it is rumors that there are setbacks on set. This director change can't help anything, though it does sound like Ron Howard has hit the ground running and things are still moving forward, but setbacks are setbacks. Even Star Wars isn't immune to setbacks, and we could get it in a logical amount of time, being a year apart. All right, as we round the corner, we can see the end. Just 3 more news stories, and then we are to the end of this update. First on the list of 3 is Hellboy. Now, the title of the new Hellboy movie is going to be Hellboy: Rise of the Blood Queen. We have no script. We have no announcements of any sort, aside from some casting. So, let's recap. We have, right now, David Harbour is coming on as Hellboy. They just announced the Blood Queen. So they have the two main, they have the protagonist and the antagonist. And the queen is going to be played by Mila Jovovich. You know Mila. Fifth Element, Resident Evil. Yeah, Mila. She's going to be the Blood Queen. Now, this could be fantastic because Fifth Element was a thing. This could be different because Ultraviolet was a thing. Or this could be horrible because Resident Evil was a thing. And that might be a little blasphemous because I know a lot of nerds love the Resident Evil movies, but they are so bad. I like Mila Jovovich. I think she potentially can do fantastic things. I think if she is the one in the production chair, those fantastic things are less fantastic. Has nothing to do with her gender, has everything to do with her choices. Just the Resident Evil movies, when she became one of the producers, I don't know, got worse somehow. So much more campy, and maybe that's why people like them. I don't know. I just feel like the source material of Resident Evil is so golden. To turn it into what they turned it into shows a gross misunderstanding of what the source material is. But yeah, I have high hopes. I really, really do have high hopes because I really want to see David Harbour as Hellboy. And now I kind of want to see his Hellboy fight Mila Jovovich's Blood Queen. So there's that. And the last two bits of news. Both have to do with Batman. One is Justice League Batman, one is The Batman. The Batman, Matt Reeves, was talking to a podcast on MTV. Is MTV still a thing? Like, didn't they stop? Haven't people stopped watching that? Like, anyway, told a podcast that is somehow produced by MTV that when he took over the helm as the director on The Batman, they threw out Affleck's script entirely. What does that mean? What does that mean? It means we don't know who the villain is. We don't know anything about it because it was announced that we were going to get Deathstroke as the villain, played by Joe Manganiello, Mr. Alcide Herveau himself. But then, like, the director change, and he went off to do a Dungeons and Dragons movie, and now we're, like, in this weird limbo. We know Affleck's gonna be in it, even though Casey made that joke a little while ago about his brother not wanting to be the Batman anymore, but whatever. I think Affleck's gonna do 3 Batman movies, maybe. He might just do the one, and then be like, you know what, I did it. We're done. That's good. You can find a new Batman, right? But yeah, so throughout the entire script, like, I had really high hopes for the Ben Affleck script because Affleck fucking won an Oscar for writing. And he had Johns on there, Jeff Johns, you know, Captain DC himself, helping to make it a good story, potentially to fix all the things they broke in Batman vs. Superman. So I don't know. Hopefully they can still fix all of the broke. But whatever. The other bit of Batman news is we have a new movie synopsis for Justice League. Now, let's just... Notes. I'm going to read you the original synopsis that was released by the studio. Fueled by his restored faith in humanity and inspired by Superman's selfless act, Bruce Wayne enlists the help of his newfound ally, Diana Prince, to face an even greater enemy. Now, Superman's selfless act? Like, I don't know. People got a lot of different stuff from that Batman vs. Superman movie. I don't see Superman doing a whole lot for anybody else in that movie. Unless it has to do with Lois Lane, because he can hear Lois screaming from across the world, but he can't hear his mom screaming from across the bay. Anyway, so that's the old synopsis. That's what the studio released really not that long ago. This new synopsis, before I tell you where it comes from, let's just read. Once again, Wonder Woman must demonstrate her ability as a fierce warrior. Facing a great enemy, she and Batman join forces to recruit a group of metahumans to stand against this newly awakened threat. Having formed an unprecedented league of heroes, they set out to save the planet from an assault of catastrophic proportions. Now, it's obvious which one of these plays up to which lead. We know that we're going to get Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Flash, Cyborg, and Superman. If you don't believe Superman's going to be in the Justice League movie, you A, don't read comic books, or B, have not been paying attention to anything they've released, because freaking Henry Cavill is there. Anyway, stupid. Why? That's why you set up a new movie universe where death doesn't matter, because you kill Superman in the second movie, and we know that he's part of the freaking Justice League, and we know the next movie after Wonder Woman is going to be the Justice League. So when you kill off your main protagonist and then you know that he's coming back, death means nothing. So therefore, when Batman kills everyone, that's why, because death means nothing, right? Anyway, the the official release from the studio obviously is playing up Batman. The new synopsis is playing up Wonder Woman. Now, it might not surprise you that the new synopsis was found on the back of a Barbie doll. The Mira? Yeah, the Mira doll from Barbie. So, a toy that's directed at girls plays up the female protagonist of the movie, and then the studio release plays up the male protagonist of the movie. Sounds to me like they're trying to sell toys, not like they're trying to put Batman in the back seat. So many articles about this are like, oh no, they're the poor reviews of Batman vs Superman and the great reviews of Wonder Woman are changing how Joss Whedon is doing these reshoots. Joss Whedon, yes, is, by the way, doing some reshoots on on Justice League. I don't know that at this point, because we're going to get it by the end of the year, at this point, whatever is on film, whatever they've shot, I guess film is not really a thing anymore, but whatever they've shot, whatever this has already been committed, I really feel like there's very little that they can do to change the primary protagonist. I don't think, if Wonder Woman is the focus of this movie, then something tells me that there's been a while where she's always been the focus of this movie. All of the previews we've got, all of the trailers so far, don't show that as being true. So really, the new synopsis is just them trying to sell girls' toys. To take it any further than that, I feel like is trying to sensationalize what isn't necessarily sensational. And on that note, thank you very much for watching. If you have anything that you want to talk about anything we have discussed on today's episode, please put it in the comments below, and we will talk about it. Jump over to the Patreon, send me some money, and I'll get you on the show, man. That being said, I thank you guys for watching one more time. And remember, if it is generally nerdy, then it is probably here.